I want to talk to you about the jhana, or samadhi as it is sometimes called. It's a state of consciousness that you reach through meditation. There's not a lot of information about it out there, so I thought I made a video about it. With this video, I just want to share my own experience with it, and my technique, the method I use to get there, in the hope that you can attain it and you can compare your experience to mine. So what is it? What is the jhana? It's a state of consciousness in the same sense that sleep is a state of consciousness. So it's as different from reality as sleep. It's really, you feel the transition, you feel the change. When you come out of the jhana, you know you were somewhere else. There's no doubt. So it's not a series of impressions or something like that. It's as different as sleep. One important characteristic of the jhana is that in it there is no narrator in your head. The part of your mind that is responsible for making sentences and words is gone. You cannot analyze the jhana once you're in it. So you need to analyze it once you're out. So you realize that you were in the jhana when you come out. At least you can put words on it. When you're in it, you know that you're in it. But you cannot analyze it and see what are the details of that thing. So it's an important point. How does it feel? It's hard to describe, but it feels like a cocoon. It feels like you're entering. It feels like going back to the womb. Really, it feels like home. It's warm and fuzzy. There is no sense of body, no sense of time, no sense of space, no sense of self. Yourself just pours out into everything, and you unite. It's literally a union with the divine. If you don't believe in God, see the divine as the divine in you. And if you don't believe in that, then it's time to work on that, because there is divine in you. The divine is the supramundane, this what's beyond this regular daily life, this regular reality. And if you want to unite with the divine, whether it's in you or out of you, there's no better way, in my opinion, than the jhana. It is the union with the divine. So why would you want to do it? Well, if you are a believer and you want to experience God, the jhana is probably your best bet. If you're someone who's trying to know him or herself, well, you'll want to know this state, which is a specific state of consciousness, just like sleep. It's part of you, and when you're there, you'll be the essence of yourself. So if you want to know yourself, that's the best place to find yourself. If you're studying reality, you can already see that sleep is an essential part in your understanding of reality. So if I'm telling you that there is another state, just like sleep, that not many people know about really, and it's a crime because it should be taught at school. Well, you want to study that state. It's part of reality. So that's another reason for you. So a thing I forgot to mention when I talked about the experience is the transition. Before I go into the method, I want to talk about the transition. It being a state of consciousness you've never been in, your mind is not going to take it at first. It's going to be too much. So the first few times you're going to go in, and then you're going to drop back out. Or at least, probably, I don't know. We're all different. When I go into it, I feel like I'm being pulled upwards through the skull, through the mind. I know I'm not going anywhere, but that's how it feels. And the first few times when this happened, I felt I was overwhelmed by sensory overloads, like bright light, ringing ears, horns in the ear, or maybe sometimes it feels like there's a vibration inside the ear, like there's a wasp stuck inside my ear. and the skin is vibrating super fast, like every cell is jumping up and down. Must be happy to be there. Now, I don't know why this happens, but my theory is that the mind is used to receiving sensory information, and when you're in meditation, depriving yourself of those sensations, when you reach a point of extreme deprivation of sensation, that is the jhana, the mind doesn't know what to do. It's used to providing you with impressions of sensations, with mental images of sensations. So maybe the mind is just giving you random noise, white light, ringing ears and whatnot. So maybe that's what's going on. But that's just a theory. But if you keep trying, those sensations will go away, and then the only thing that remains is the feeling of bubbling up through the skull, through the mind, and entering this bright golden light. So maybe now I should talk to you about the method. The method that I use comes from Theravada Buddhism, but I'm sure there are other methods. I'm just sharing this one with you because that's the one I know. I think it's really good though. I looked around at different methods to get there. In yoga, they call it Samadhi. In Buddhism, they call it Jhana. They are essentially the same thing. I'm going to try to avoid any information that you don't need. I'm going to try to keep it simple, even though the method is really advanced. So let me talk about the method that I use to get there. The method that I personally use is concentration meditation. It's a method that comes from Theravada Buddhism, but you can use other methods if you want. I'm just going to explain you mine. Concentration meditation is the practice of focusing on one thing, just one thing, to the exclusion of everything else. I usually take the breath, which is the most commonly recommended object of concentration, the breath. Why the breath? Because you don't need to think about it, you can't forget to breathe, you just do it and you can focus on it, you won't stop. So it's the easiest, the most natural. If you focus on one point of your breath and nothing else, you will be assailed with distractions. And for the most part, meditation is handling those distractions, really. That's just the nature of meditation, handling distractions. When a distraction happens, when it comes, whether it's your knee is itching or you have a pain in the back or something, or you remember something, you just look at it without getting emotionally involved, and you observe it until it goes away. It feels a bit like sitting on the bank of a river and watching a fish pass by. They arrive, they stay a little bit, and they leave. And you don't pay attention, you just watch them. Well, you do pay attention, you look at them, but you don't get involved, and you don't judge the fact that there is a distraction shouldn't be judged. You don't blame yourself, you're not frustrated or anything. You just wait for it to go away. Then you go back to your breath, to your object of concentration. And if you do that, after a while, distractions don't happen anymore. They stop. Or maybe you can see them, but they are not distraction. What would have distracted you still happens, but you don't look at it. You are not distracted anymore. You remain on your breath. And when you do that, you enter a state that is called access concentration. It's called like that because it's from there that you access the jhana. And that state, access concentration, is really, it feels like meditation. When you're in this spot, distractions don't affect you anymore. You see them pass by and you are just focused on your object of concentration. This is meditation. More so than the jhana itself, because the jhana, you're not meditating anymore, you're elsewhere. The goal of meditation is to not meditate, and the jhana is it. So you are in access concentration. Here I have a few techniques that I can share with you that usually the Buddhist meditation techniques don't talk about this. It's some stuff that I found on my own that you might find useful. The essential thing to do to access the jhana from access concentration is stillness. So I've developed some techniques to find that stillness. Because if you just wait for it to happen, it feels like you have no control and you can wait forever, right? So I've developed some stuff that can help me get there. One thing I do is I pay attention to the eyes. Behind my closed eyelids, I watch what my eyes are doing. I realize nowadays it doesn't happen anymore, but at the beginning I realized that my eyes were constantly moving. It's like I was looking at stuff even though my eyes were closed. It's just a habit. So I try to keep my eyes fixed in one point. And I noticed something. There are some statues of the Buddha where you see the Buddha with the eyes half closed, and you see the pupil of the eyes underneath. And when I look at that, I think that's what they were trying to represent. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's just me. But the eyes stills bring stillness inside. There's a connection between your state of being and the way your eyes move. And another thing that the eyes tend to do, at least for me, I tend to blink even though my eyes are closed. Like I clench my eyelids every now and then. Once I noticed, I try to stop it. And if I still the eyes and I stop blinking, quote unquote, behind my closed eyelids, there's this peace that comes, this stillness. And it's really helpful to enter the jhana. And there's another thing which really is important to me, it has to do with the breath. And since we're focusing on the breath, it's important. I let the breath go down at as low as possible. I let it drop at the bottom like a rock at the bottom of a lake. I just breathe out and I, quote unquote, hold my breath, but I don't force it. It's not an effort. I just leave it there. It's not that I hold my breath, I leave it at the bottom. And when it's at the bottom and I don't breathe in or out. And when I need to breathe, I just take as little air as I need. And then I go back at the bottom, like a rock falling at the bottom of a lake. And when I do that, there is something with the bottom of the breath that is connected with spirituality in some way, and I don't understand it. But it opens you up to all sorts of sensations, and it deepens the meditation to a point where I still can't explain it. There's a connection between the bottom of the breath and enlightenment, let's say, or spirituality, or maybe exaltation, I don't know. So I noticed that if I drop down to the bottom and I rest there, after a while, even if I try to breathe normally, my breath will just stop and I will enter a state of shallow breath. I will breathe like this instead of breathing strongly. So I'm in access concentration and I found my stillness with the two techniques, the eyes and the breath. And now I come back to my breath and I focus on it in stillness and I just wait. And I just stare there at the bottom of the lake. And if I do that, after a while, I feel that I'm being pulled upward. I bubble up through the skull and I enter the jhana. And really, it's all there is. So what you need is to find a way to battle distractions, then find stillness and stay on the object of concentration. And the jhana will happen on its own. Once you get there are several things that you need to do to practice it, because at first you'll go in and then go out and go in and then go out. So the first thing is getting used to the transition. Then with time, you will notice that you go in and then you stay a little while and you come out. And if you keep going in and out, the time you stay in it will grow. You'll stay longer every time. With every practice, but with continued practice, you will get to a point where you can stay longer. And one thing you should practice is staying as long as possible. Like I try to stay an hour or 2 hours inside it. And really it's not that hard because you're in another state and you want to stay there, really. Another thing you can do is practicing staying a specific time. Like you decide, I'm going in and I want to stay 35 minutes. And then you look at the clock and you try to get that time right. And even though there is no sense of time inside the jhana, there's a part of you that is well aware of time, because you come out and it's almost to the second or to the minute at the exact time as you predicted. It's really interesting. So if you keep practicing the jhana this way, after a while you'd get used to it, and you'd be able to do all the things that you wanted to do, like be with God or study reality. You do you. You use this technique for whatever you want. I hope this can help you, and I'm sure it will, because really this state is fantastic. I want everybody to experience it. That's why I'm making this video. And if you need help, if you have a question, reach out and I'll help you as best as I can. Okay, good luck out there.